Welcome to the Juice Box with Juice Springsteen, covering the week that was in professional wrestling. And hello everybody and welcome to another edition of the Juice Box. I am Juice Springsteen and it is AEW Redemption weekend. The new AEW pay-per-view on the schedule. We will be predicting the entire card here in just a moment. Before we get to that, at Juicy Steen on Twitter, at Juicy Wrestling Closet on Instagram, at Juicy Steen on YouTube. Listen to the show on Apple Podcasts via iTunes. If you can leave a rating and review, that would help. Same if you listen to the show on Spotify, Amazon Music as well, where you can listen to the show. And of course, juicysteen.podbean.com. The first AEW pay-per-view to be taking place in Montreal. This is, a new pay-per-view for AEW's calendar. The 10th pay-per-view in the calendar year of 2026. July 26. So, all of this stuff lining up for this particular pay-per-view. Now, we will, of course, touch on some things that could have happened in regards to this show that aren't happening. Some things in this show that will be happening based on rumor, speculation, and just, kind of feeding into what we've seen on TV. You want to pay attention to what you see, but you also want to pay attention to what you read, and your eyes and ears can tell a story that not any other people can. So, let's just dive into this thing. We've got 10 matches on this show. I do believe that the pay-per-view is going to start at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is a wonderful change from the normal 8 o'clock, and it's a 4.5 hour show on a Sunday night where it rolls into midnight. Give me 7 p.m. to 11:15 or 11:30, and I will be more than happy with that, at least, on paper. Because AEW on pay-per-view is incredible. They have always delivered. I have always looked forward to watching, pretty much any and every AEW pay-per-view that they've presented since their inception in 2019. I've been to a couple of AEW pay-per-views, notably Dynasty in 2025 and All In Texas last year as well. So, looking at this card, 10 matches, let's get into it. We'll start off with the AEW Women's World Title. Tekla taking on Willow Nightingale. Now, clearly the winner of this match will be set up for a one-on-one encounter with one Mercedes Moné at All In Wembley, and that is going to be a very, very interesting piece of business because I would love to see Tekla go into All In as champion and defend against Mercedes. However, I would also love to see Willow Nightingale versus Mercedes. That being said, I do feel as if we are on the cusp of maybe a triple threat between Willow, Tekla, and Mercedes Moné. How we get there, I'm not sure. Maybe there's some sort of double pin where, both women are pinned or in a way that is a draw in a sense, but the only way to kind of move forward with that is to have a triple threat match at All In Wembley. That remains to be seen. Outside of that, I'm going to just take Tekla for the win. I think she's been doing a great job. She did a great job on commentary, and every time she's on the microphone, I think she's hilarious. So give me Tekla to win, to retain the AEW Women's World Title. But I am not in the slightest going to be shocked if Tekla and Willow Nightingale somehow leave the door open for a triple threat at Wembley Stadium next month. AEW National Championship, Mark Davis defending against Andrade El Idolo. I think this could be Andrade's moment to capture the national championship and then walk into Grand Slam Mexico, either defending the title in a huge match, or going against the world champion title for title, if that is Kenny Omega, at Grand Slam Mexico, which I do believe is in a week or two. I think it is next, in 2 weeks, I believe, is when it's taking place. So I'm going to go out on a limb here and say Andrade El Idolo will win the national championship for Mark Davis. Wouldn't be shocked at all if that is the case, because they want to build him up for Grand Slam Mexico. So I'm going to take Andrade to win this championship. Hikaru Shida defending the AEW TBS title against Maya World. I kind of could see a world in which Maya World wins this championship as an upset. But Shida with the championship, she's been doing a solid job as champion. I don't know if Maya World is going to have enough juice to get through all the way to All in Wembley as TBS champion. I could see a multi-women match at All in Wembley, so I'm going to take Hikaru Shida to retain, but I'm sure the match is going to be spectacular, and I can pretty much say that for the majority of the matches on this show. Let's dig into another one. Kyle Fletcher defending the AEW International Championship against Bandito. This is going to be everybody banned from ringside, so that dictates some sort of shenanigans one way or another. I don't think that means Bandito will win the International Championship, but I do think that it's going to pave the way for some sort of Kyle Fletcher and either Kevin Knight match or Okada match or Takeshita match in the future at All in Wembley. I think Kyle Fletcher walking in as international champion is the right move for that particular pay-per-view next month at the end of August. So I'm going to take Kyle Fletcher to win and retain the international championship, proving that he does not need the Don Callis family to win and be successful as the international champion. Let's do another very pivotal title match. This is the tag team titles on the line. AEW World Tag Titles being defended by Cage and Cope versus the Death Riders of Claudio Castagnoli and Pac. This is, just going to be a fun tag match between four veterans of the biz, some longer than others, but these guys have been around quite a long time, all four of them, and I think this is going to be a solid little match, but I do just believe it's a vehicle to get another win under the belt of Cage and Cope to eventually defend the AEW World Tag Team titles at All in Wembley. Maybe in a ladder match, maybe just against the Young Bucks by themselves, but I do think the money is Cope and Cage walking into All in Wembley as your AEW Tag Team Champions, so I will take them to retain those championships. Let's get into a no-holds-barred match here. Tommaso Ciampa taking on the Painmaker, Chris Jericho. We're going to see blood in this match, I would wager, especially due to the no-holds-barred stipulation. And even though the Painmaker has, shown up in AEW before, I do believe this is the final appearance by the Painmaker in AEW. I think Ciampa needs this win more than Jericho needs it, and maybe you can get a little reset for Jericho after this match. I'm taking Tommaso Ciampa to win this no-holds-barred match. I'm not sure what's next for either of these guys, because here on the Juice Box, that's what I like to do. It's more about, it's less about the win and loss of one particular night. It's about what happens the next show, the following pay-per-view, what the next episode of Dynamite, what's next for each competitor in said matches. So I'm curious to see what happens to Ciampa after this, and Jericho, to be quite honest. I'm taking Ciampa to win the no-holds-barred match. Let's go into a crazy match. One of two. I'm going to go back-to-back here. The first being the Bang Bang Gang, Jay White, Juice Robinson, taking on the Dogs, David Finlay and Clark Connors. Double chain tag match. I brought this up on No Dirt, Just Dialogue and my appearance on the Wrestle Collective. Shout out to Andrew Baydala, Jordan Slick Flair Carter, Hannibal, Grumpy, Dev, Advocate, and Graps, Lucy, everybody across the board and the rest of the collective, if I missed you, I do apologize. There's a lot of great people in that collective, so it's tough to remember them all, to be quite honest with you, even though they are all very memorable and great people. But I did say on that show that this particular pay-per-view, even if people are going to look down on it as it's filler, it's just a show initially created for Kenny Omega to win the world title, even though now he's walking in as champion. We'll get to that in a little bit. This is, maybe a predictable card, and nothing might really change considering All in Wembley is the next pay-per-view, and that's obviously the bigger show for AEW in their eyes, which is rightfully so. Yet, this is a great opportunity for a lot of the younger talent, some of the wrestlers that may not get the opportunities on every episode of Dynamite or on other pay-per-views to really shine. And I think this match in particular, these four guys, Jay White, even though he's wrestled for the world title on an AEW show before, Juice Robinson, my namesake, and, the dogs, Clark and David, I think these guys are going to get maybe 15, 20 minutes to do a double chain match in a tag, space here. And I think they're going to knock it out of the park. I think they're going to go above and beyond to be, brutal and insane and try to make this match memorable. You get very few, opportunities to really, really make an impact, a lasting impact at that, if you're on the mid-card, especially on pay-per-view. This is their moment to shine and put a spotlight on all four of themselves. Or if someone makes a star-making performance by themselves, I think that's also very, very possible. So even with all that withstanding, I am going to say that the Bang Bang Gang win the double chain tag match. I would actually love to see the dogs win this, but I'm going to root and select Juice Robinson and Jay White to win this match in an absolute bloodbath. This might be one of the matches I'm most looking forward to, other than this next match, which I'm going to talk about. 6-way ladder match to determine the number one contender for the AEW International title. Jack Perry, the Beast Mortos, Commander, Speedball Mike Bailey, Nick Wayne, and El Clone. These are 6 of the most athletic people in AEW, and they are going to go above and beyond to get the opportunity at the international title. If Kyle Fletcher is the guy to walk into Wembley, and this is, this winner of this match gets to take them on, I think that could be awesome. Although they're kind of vague with it, you might get this international title match on Dynamite or at Grand Slam Mexico. Who knows? That being said, I think either way, if you walk into Wembley Stadium as champion or as the challenger from this match, I think the best person to suit either of those is Jack Perry. One, because I think he's on the up and up in regards to getting this international championship, like getting a title in the singles realm and starting a little run here on his own. Kind of like the Darby thing where you get a month or two to really, really sink your teeth into having a great match every week, different challengers, epic matches each and every week. But I also like the component of, boy, Jack Perry has quite the history at Wembley Stadium, and it would be pretty cool to, get an opportunity to either walk in if he wins the title before then, or walk into Wembley as the challenger and maybe win the international championship, where, Jack Perry had quite the introduction match. The first match was the pre-show, I believe, for Wembley at All In a couple of years ago, right before CM Punk and Samoa Joe had their match, which may or may not have caused quite a bit of controversy. So give me Jack Perry, but this match is going to be nuts, and I cannot wait to see it. Always a big fan of ladder matches. We got a ladder match coming up at SummerSlam as well, so looking forward to that. Let's get into the final 2 matches. Uber special tag match here. Jon Moxley and Will Ospreay, the Death Riders, taking on the Young Bucks. Like I said earlier, I think this is setting up, Cope and Cage taking on the Young Bucks in one way or the other at All in Wembley. If not there, definitely at All Out in Chicago in September. For that to be the case, I really think that both Cope and Cage have to win and retain the titles in their match against the Death Riders, and the Young Bucks have to defeat the other 2 members of the Death Riders to keep the momentum going. And in that, I think you're going to see some dissension between Moxley and Ospreay, which I think could be pivoted where if Ospreay ends up going to Wembley Stadium and winning the World Championship, how interesting of a dynamic would it be for Moxley, who could be pissed about whatever happens in this match against the Bucks, to say, hey man, we brought you in the Death Riders, we got you on the straight and narrow, you ended up winning the world title, I think you owe me an opportunity. And that could be your first opportunity as, defending the world championship if Ospreay does win it. I think Jon Moxley could be that perfect first contender out of All In. So, that being said, I think this is going to be an incredible match. We had the Young Bucks versus Ospreay and Swerve at All In Texas last year. It was one of the best matches I've ever seen live. What a phenomenal just back and forth between all four men. I think we're going to see something similar here. This is kind of like a dream tag match, even though it's a random team placement of Ospreay and Mox. But, all four of these guys can go. We all know that. I'm taking the Young Bucks to win this match and have the momentum as we get closer to All In Wembley. Let's go to the final match, the main event. Kevin Knight challenges Kenny Omega for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. Let's get this story straight. I believe the initial creation of the Redemption pay-per-view was to get Kenny Omega in a world title match, potentially against MJF, winning the title in Canada, and then going on to take on Will Ospreay at Wembley Stadium for that one final dream match where the first match took place in Japan, the second match happened in Canada, and then the third match could happen across the pond. I think that would be awesome, and I think that's where they're going. But for injury's sake, which is what I firmly believe, I'm not back there. I'm also not a doctor. I'm choosing to see and believe from as many different sources as I can, and it does seem to be that MJF has been injured for a little bit. He hyperextended his knee against Roosh. He had his leg wrapped against Mark Briscoe. He dropped the championship to Kenny Omega on TV, and for me, if I'm injured and I would have the opportunity to either kind of be healed up but wrestle at Redemption, or heal up even more and have a bigger match at All In Wembley Stadium, I would be skipping Redemption and wrestling at All In. So, assuming that's the case, that is my contention. I think that this was the right call then to have Kenny Omega win the world title at Beach Break, then pivot, give Kevin Knight this opportunity on pay-per-view. I think Kenny Omega is going to win the match and retain the title, of course, but Kevin Knight's going to put on a good match. He's had great matches in the mid-card and now, upper parts of the main event over the last, year or so. Since Dynasty, back whenever I was there in Philadelphia, when Kevin Knight kind of became a star, at least on pay-per-view in AEW's eyes. So I think the match is fait accompli. I think Kenny Omega is going to win the match and go on to take on Will Ospreay at All In Wembley. But I think the match is going to speak for itself and be quality. So it does not matter to me that it's somewhat predictable. I think it is what it is. Injuries happen in pro wrestling. And this is where we're at. And like I said earlier with the Bang Bang Gang and the Dogs, this whole card has a lot of different talent across the board that can really, really prove themselves as worthy of being on pay-per-view more often for AEW. With 10 pay-per-views in a year, you want to be able to stand out above your normal wrestlers that are on TV every week. And this is a great opportunity across the card, 10 matches, to really prove themselves. So I'm really looking forward to it up and down. And look, a ladder match, a double chain tag match, you got a no holds barred match, a tag match with the Young Bucks versus Mox and Will Ospreay. A lot of unique scenarios could happen at this show, and even if it's quote a little predictable, or it's filler, or just a way to get us to All In Wembley, that doesn't matter to me. I'm gonna be sat right in front of my TV screen, enjoying the hell out of another fantastic AEW pay-per-view, because no matter what I've thought about the pay-per-view going into the show, whatever the card looks like, the pay-per-view has absolutely delivered in every single sense, in the ring, on TV, for the majority of the time, and the entirety of the event. My only issue is that it starts a little late and it ends too late, but you're cutting it up to 7 p.m. Eastern for this show. So I think you actually could have a hell of a card. If it ends by 11:30, I think you really got something cooking. Don't take it past midnight, and I will be a very happy pro wrestling fan. But I think I'll be very, very sports entertained and wrestling entertained with AEW Redemption. this Sunday. So looking forward to all of it. Cannot wait for All In, of course, next month. But we got to get through Redemption to get to Wembley Stadium. So hope you guys enjoyed this little predictions preview show here of AEW Redemption here on the Juice Box. As always, follow me on Twitter at JuicySteen, at Juicy Wrestling Closet on Instagram, at JuicySteen on YouTube. Listen to the Juice Box on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, via iTunes, where you can leave a rating and review. It helps the show grow. And of course, JuicySteen.podbean.com. Next week, we will have a Main Event Maniacs episode covering a SummerSlam main event and 2 separate Night 1 and Night 2 episodes of SummerSlam predictions with yours truly and maybe a guest or 2. We will see who's available next week. But for me, I'm Juice Springsteen. This has been the AEW Redemption Predictions Show right here on the Juice Box. That was the Juice Box with Juice Springsteen. Make sure to subscribe to the Juice Box wherever you listen to podcasts.